The Minion Prince is getting a brand new piece of equipment called the Noble Iron, and in this video we're going to be breaking down the stats, talking about the best ways to use this equipment, as well as the best synergies it has with the other Minion Prince equipment. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about the new Minion Prince equipment in detail. Named the Noble Iron, the brand new piece of equipment will be available at Blacksmith level 5, which is going to be at Town Hall 12. When the Minion Prince is deployed, the first few attacks from the Minion Prince will be really strong and do extra damage. Now this is very similar to the Rocket Spear, but it starts the moment the Minion Prince is deployed instead of whenever you decide to activate it. Let's go ahead and take a deeper look into the stats of the Noble Iron. You get bonus damage from this equipment for a certain number of attacks, and this damage is determined by the equipment level. The max damage at level 18 is 770 with 7 different attacks. The range at max level is 11 tiles, which is really nice as well, as it's one longer than the Rocket Spear. But keep in mind that the range is actually dependent on the level of the equipment, which is something that I'm going to talk about a little bit more later in the video. On top of this, you'll get bonus attack speed increase, and at max level this is 17%. Now guys, this is significantly faster. In 1 minute the Minion Prince can get up to 12 more attacks if attacking non-stop, but realistically you're gonna get about 6 to 7 more attacks within that minute. Now let's take a good look at the level by level analysis through some charts. On screen is a chart right now that shows how all of the stats are going to scale as the level increases. In the middle of the chart, I made a column that sums up the total additional damage that you get from the extra shots discussed previously. As you guys can see from this chart and this graph, you can see that the damage spikes a lot at levels 6, 12, and 18 where you get additional shots. This is interesting as it deviates from the level 9 and level 18 being the best levels for common equipment. Now with the basic stats out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about some nuances that you guys need to know to get the most out of this equipment. When it comes to extra damage, the key is to not waste extra shots on buildings you could easily clear like collectors. Make sure that if you spend any shots on buildings like this that you're one-shotting them, because it would be absolutely overkill for you to use 2 shots on a single building that can be easily one shot. If you do this, you'd be wasting a ton of the bonus damage that you can get. When it comes to the range of the Noble Iron, I find it really interesting because the range changes as you level up the equipment. This is a rather new mechanic since the Rocket Spear, for example, has a constant range. And it brings about an interesting question. What is the minimal viable range that you should have for the Minion Prince's Noble Iron? The answer really depends on the targets that you want to get with this equipment. If you want to just funnel with it, then the 9 range by itself does pretty well on its own. However, if you're trying to snipe town halls, things get a little interesting. First off, if you're sniping a Town Hall 17, well, you're out of luck because Town Hall 17 has a range of 12. But if you're at any lower town hall, you're actually in a good spot because the town halls below Town Hall 17 have a range of 10 tiles. Thus, the perfect range for sniping town halls is 10.5, which is achieved by level 12. Another critical target for you is the air defense, which can help you in your air attacks as well as help just keep the Minion Prince alive. Now air defenses also have a range of 10 tiles, which is convenient since we know that at level 12 the Noble Iron will be able to outrange it. Therefore level 12 is a minimum when it comes to range requirements for this equipment. And when it comes to damage, it's whatever level allows you to one-shot buildings that are on the outside of the base. So with the stats and those nuances out of the way, what is the best way to use this equipment in your attacks? There are several methods that I'm thinking about when it comes to this question. The first method is to obviously use the Minion Prince in the beginning to get some really great funneling. Furthermore, if you use it with the Angry Jelly, it gets even better, because this way you can ensure that you get critical defenses, just like the Royal Champion would do if it had its Rocket Spear. This would be extremely helpful for players who don't have the Rocket Spear because obviously that's an epic equipment and it's harder to get. However, you could also use it with the Royal Champion and its Rocket Spear as well. Doing this, you can get a really great funnel easily by putting each hero on 2 different sides of the base, and I think this could absolutely be worth it because obviously funneling could make or break your attack, especially when it comes to how quick this method is. Another way to use the Noble Iron, as mentioned previously, is to snipe town halls or other buildings. Now obviously it can do this due to its natural damage and range, but even better is when you use this with the rage spell, because that'll give you additional damage and allow you to ensure that you get the buildings that you really want. Now I don't really have numbers to back this up, but from what I can see, it's about 50% more damage with the rage spell. And last but not least, you could also theoretically use the Noble Iron towards the end of your attack to get a little bit of cleanup towards the back end of the base. So it kind of just sounds like a Walmart rocket spear, right? Well, not exactly. Even though you have some pretty intense similarities, like the damage that you get at level 1, there is one main difference. You can't really pick when to use your ability, which is one of the greatest features of the Rocket Spear. This is where skill comes into play for the Noble Iron, as well as the limitations of not being an epic equipment, but it has to be mentioned that the attack speed percentage is a great passive, and you can literally take advantage of that in any attack. This is because the Minion Prince is a high DPS unit, and I'd consider this a great buff, even on par with that of the passives of the Rocket Spear. So even though it's not the Rocket Spear, I think there are definitely some similarities, and I think it's really great for those who don't have access to the Rocket Spear, especially when you pair it with the Angry Jelly. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the best synergy combinations that you can get with the Noble Iron. Now that there's 4 pieces of Minion Prince equipment, we can actually talk about synergy and have a meaningful conversation. And since the Noble Iron is a completely passive piece of equipment, it actually has really good synergy all the way around. The Henchman Puppet, first of all, can easily be used to take down some extra buildings, and due to the range of the Noble Iron, the Henchman Puppet can actually get in front of the Minion Prince now and tank for him while he does some extra damage from behind. They could also help with forming the funnel by clearing up some non-defensive buildings when you use the Angry Jelly. So there is some pretty decent synergy with the Henchman Puppet. When it comes to the other 2 pieces of equipment, I think it's really important to determine what the objective of the Minion Prince is in your attack. If you want to get some extra value and want to push some additional defenses, then you could use the Metal Pants. This is a decent combination because you'll be getting damage reduction after your Minion Prince has run out of shots, which is when he's vulnerable. But if you want to help your army push through your base instead, you can use the Dark Orb to help slow down defenses. And to be honest, this is how I saw a lot of pros use the Minion Prince in the World's warm-up, to not only help with the damage through the base, but also to obviously slow down those defenses in the core of the base. So in short, for funneling and support, use the Dark Orb, and if you want to get a little bit more value out of your Minion Prince, then you could use the Metal Pants. So with this analysis out of the way, what are my final opinions about this equipment? To be honest, I think it's a very good piece of common equipment. The boost that it gives makes the Minion Prince better at his primary role as a damage dealer, and it also gives him an opportunity to funnel for your main army. Furthermore, it's obvious that it serves as a great precursor to the Rocket Spear for those who don't have it. But with that being said, should you invest ores into this equipment? I think if you're already using the Minion Prince and you're favoring air attacks, this could be a great option for you. But if you're using other heroes more and you're barely using the Minion Prince, then upgrade the sets that you have on those other heroes first. One thing you should invest in though is the new shop offer that I made for all of you. It is an amazing value offer and is something that I would recommend for all spenders, but just know that you can only buy one of these packages from your account, so make sure to shop around with other creators' packages and make sure this is the one that you want. I'll make sure to link it in the comments and the description down below. It does help quite a bit, so thank you all for considering getting the package. Now, the Noble Iron isn't the only new thing that we're getting in this update. We also spoke about the brand new pet in yesterday's sneak peek, and if you want to learn more about that, then make sure to check out this video right here where I break down the ins and outs as well as the stats for the brand new pet so that you guys can be ready when it does come out.